All right, class is in session. I did a whole series of Nichol Kessinger interviews last week, and she's got one more interview. She did an interview before um, the one that I covered last week, and I split it up into like 10 sections, which I'll split this one up too. But it's just interesting. I think we can learn things in both, and that's why we do them. We're just using them as a backdrop. It's not like we're trying to rehash the whole case, but it's just a backdrop so we can learn about intersexual dynamics, learn where, all the holes in the Swiss cheese seem to align in this one, and where bad leadership can create a situation where a woman has to take the lead, and then the woman gets out of control and starts being disrespectful, and then the husband starts to withdraw, then he has an affair, and then he falls in love with his affair partner, and then he wants to get out of his marriage, and it just, all the holes in the Swiss cheese are aligning in this one, and this is why you have the tragedy that we did, and obviously we want to do after actions. We want to first honor the victims, Bella, Celeste, Cece, and Shanann, Watts. No one had the right to do what they did to them, especially the little girls. Unbelievable. Obviously Shanann, but there's culpability. We always have culpability in what happens in our lives. And I hadn't really watched any of the Chris Watts case when it was going on. Just I saw these interviews, and I was like, man, there's a lot of gems of learning material for relationships in these. And since you're just using them as a backdrop, you don't need the details of the case, But after learning the details of the case, Chris Watts was, definitely not happy in his marriage. And it seemed like his wife just, I'm not trying to disparage the dead or anything like that, but through his father, who seems pretty level-headed, and his mother, they seem pretty level-headed. And she was a problem. She was a terror, it seems, from what they described. And they seem like pretty rational people. So they love their son. Obviously, he made a huge error. Now, they think that, Shanann killed the girls and, Chris killed her. That's Chris's story to save face, I think, to minimize the damage. He can admit to doing her, but he has a hard time admitting the girls. So he claims she did it. So since she killed the girls, he killed her. So, and no, he did. He goes on later on to describe, what he did, and it's horrifying. This doesn't need to be repeated, but anyway, he admitted to it. So let's see what we can learn from this.
I'll be right back, all right? I'm just going to get clean for skin. Introduce yourself, all right? Be right back.
So this is Nichol Kessinger. That is the Colorado Bureau of Investigation, a statewide agency that investigates smaller counties if they have a murder, especially one this big. They're going to call in the bigger state agency because it's got more money, more resources. It can help out the smaller counties. Like Houston, the state agency would never come in. I worked for Houston Police Department for 22 years, now retired. But we handle all our stuff. But smaller counties, we have what here in Texas we have Department of Public Safety. We call it DPS, and we have they're called Rangers. They wear cowboy hats, white button-down shirts, and some jeans, and I think boots. They're very like cowboy. It's the old, Texas Rangers. They're like a storied investigation group here. But anyway, CBI. This guy's from the CBI. Now look at Nichol here. Sexy little thing. She's 30 years old. I found out that. Look at the arms, strong arms. Look at them shoulders. I liked what she's wearing, a little athletic shirt. The ponytail, sexy. She's a sexy little thing, She's about to put that ponytail up, get down to business, Strong thighs, strong little booty. This is a girl, and that's what. And I say that in jest, but also in respect. That is a sexy young thing right there, sexy girl, and I mean that with respect. And she wields power with that, and she willed power over Chris. And he was 33, similar age group. But, if you're, she's going to be a hot young thing in the office. She's going to be talked about, and that's going to get you status. Chris Watts had status, guarantee at his work, and he liked it. And she was attentive to him. She cared about him. She cared about him. So, that was intoxicating. I mean, from what I'm learning, and obviously don't know everything, but from what I'm learning, I watched a bunch of videos from Shanann. That lady was way into social media. She was doing MLM marketing. That stuff's a scam. I think Chris Watts lacked tons of leadership. She was running that marriage, but when you cannot let a woman lead, she was leading them into bankruptcy. She was leading them into the ground. But so that's why, as a man, you have to take the lead. Women don't want to be leaders, but they will lead if they have to. And I guarantee Chris was, absent of leadership, and so a vacuum was, there was a vacuum of power, and so she had to take it. Maybe she liked it, maybe she didn't. But dude, they were in huge financial trouble. Women love to buy things. Women love status through what they buy. Their house was too expensive. Their car was too expensive. All the things in their house, as Nichol described, was too expensive. But you got to have a man leading you. And the business she was in was not. She was part of Thrive, like a supplement company for nutrition. And I think it only increased her like social media addiction. She thought that she had all this, clout and followers, and dude, those things, I know from running organizations, just small as leader of some organizations, and just do marketing on Facebook. That, to me, it was not, everyone thinks that people give a damn about your little Facebook. Oh, I got 1,000 followers. Well, whether they're buying stuff or not, that's what these MLM marketers say. But, yeah, that Shanann, she was a piece of work, I think. But anyway, let's keep going. All right, she's just going to be trying to download her stuff here. She can't figure it out. Okay, let's go back to where they come in.
There's like a few from those days, but most of it is. Hi. Hello.
Yeah. Tammy.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, I'm Stacy Galbraith. Nice to meet you. How are you doing? All right. Getting through it? Trying. Yeah.
Stressing out.
Now, you look stressed out. Did you get some therapy figured out?
I'm waiting for good feedback on that, but I'm trying.
It's funny. A lot of these true crime nerds got into this stuff, and Nichol Kessinger, they're telling lies, and man, these true crime. I was a police officer 22 years. These true crime nerds that try to be detectives on the internet they're ridiculous. But anyway, it doesn't seem like she has anything to do with it from her demeanor, from the way the officer's demeanor. He's very supportive of her. He does need to get information from her. But he seems like he's getting her therapy. You don't get suspects therapy usually, paid therapy, Now that would be through a prison, but if he was planning on charging her, if he felt like he had anywhere near probable cause to charge her, he would not be seeking out therapy. I don't know who these ladies are, but you see this, I want to point this out because we're here for relationship advice. And Nichol women do a great job of information gathering. And these three ladies are like in a standoff, right? They say, hi, Nichol, you see her shake her hand, and Nichol does a great job of not saying anything. She's just doing all right. And that's it. She knows she doesn't want to give these ladies any information. She's willing to accept information because she's kind of looking at them like, what you got? And they're kind of like, we're not going to give you any. But Nichol does a good job. The person who's talking is giving out information. So Nichol knows, and women know this. Women are information gatherers. So my point is, if you're doing a first-time call, if you're out on a date, let the woman talk. She's going to try to be quiet and get you to talk so she can, receive information from you, maybe try to disqualify you. But if you got a woman that's why you go out with high interest. A high interest woman will probably talk your ear off. And you just let her talk, ask some questions. She'll make it easy for you. She'll make the conversation go easy. If you get a low interest woman, she's going to be quiet. She's not going to say much. So now you're going to want to fill the space with some BS talk. And, you're going to say some dumb stuff. But always know, the person who's talking is revealing information. And women love to get information revealed so they know how to, gather data and attack you. But make some decision. Usually women are looking to disqualify you. So the more you say, the more likely you are to say something foolish.
Oh, yeah. Does Hazel need to?
Yeah, we're gonna see if Hazel comes in. So both counties just, I had to write a letter yesterday.
I got the closed captioning on. I know it's really low, but
To pay for treatment.
Oh,
And then it's gotta go through a board because it's kind of unusual,
yeah,
since she's not an eyewitness.
right,
But, it sounded like there was not gonna be any opposition to it, it's just a process.
yeah.
So when you go through the text messages, Tammy and probably Stacy will be there, so you guys know each other. Or if they reach out to you, you know that they're not an idiot.
Can you guys give me your cards?
Yeah,
I got everyone. Okay, I just,
Thank
and now
you.
with this new.
All right.
Like, I got.
so they're being cooler now. They're just going to go through they're trying to get the information off the phone. You can see them up in this corner. They're just trying to get the information from the phone. He leaves for a little bit. So we're not missing any part of the interview. They're just trying to get, she got a new phone. She deleted all her messages. I do think the deletion of the messages, and that's okay. We're going to serve ourselves, and that's important. She probably did want to delete the messages just in case she didn't want anyone to see them, she's got naked pictures in there. She's got sex pictures in there. She doesn't want anyone seeing those. So anyone would want to, you hear this stuff going like national news, and yeah, you're going to delete your messages. Now, she said she was mad at Chris and he lied. I don't know. I mean, keep in mind, she was lying to him too, and I forgot to mention that in the other videos, but this Jim guy, I mean, come on. Now, she said Chris knows about him, but I don't think he knows the full relationship. The police officer thinks she was sleeping with him. I think she's sleeping with him. I think she's lying to Chris that this is what, he lied to me. He lied to me, and he should be separating with his wife. And then she says it, later on, I know she wasn't married to Jim, but she's like, people are just going to have to accept him, and it's a problem that when people don't want to accept my friend Jim, and a guy who lives out of state and has a key to your apartment and stays and, wants to come over when you get off of work right away and wants to stay till 10 o'clock at night, dude. That would be a problem for any guy dating you, for sure, and women, and this is another thing, how often do women, tout honesty? Be honest, be honest, be honest. Well, is she being honest about, her relationship with Jim? Is she being honest to guys about her relationship with Jim? And when does she tell guys? And as far as being honest, lying by omission, she doesn't tell anybody about Chris, I mean, women are all about open communication. Yeah, because they want information, right? Open communication, trust, honesty. She just said she don't tell nobody who she's sleeping with and I'm not going, I think she does a great job. I'm just saying, watch what they say. Opposite. Watch what they do, not what they say. Women are never, when a woman calls you, say on a dating app, does she ever tell you how many other guys she's talking to? Does she ever tell you her body count? They won't, obviously. How much do you weigh, lady? I mean, let's just be honest. When was the last time you had sex? How many guys are you having sex with currently? They're not going to tell you. They're not going to tell you. But yet they want you, they're going to ask you questions like that,
I'm very grateful, and I was putting in work on it, and I was like calling them and kind of letting them know about places, and there really wasn't that many options in Brighton. I found one. I actually texted it to myself before I texted it to him because I still have that in my phone too. Because I found it and it was great, but it was like right at the beginning of my search, and I was like, I don't want to inundate him.
So you said a week. Do you think you worked on that for a week?
No, I only probably spent like a few hours over a few days and just trying to like line it up.
Just trying to think about how many days she had been back when you were working on that. Do you know what I'm saying?
Oh.
So you said, did you actually work on it for a week straight?
No.
Okay.
It was just like a couple days after work. I would just like spend a couple hours if I had time, like at the end of my day, or if I didn't go to the gym, and just sit down. And I mean, I can give you a date on one that I worked on because I texted that one to myself. This one, I love this one. What is this?
And she's talking about the apartment stuff. And actually, when Chris was in North Carolina, see, I got more information after watching. When he was in North Carolina, so Shanann created that. It was really confusing how Nichol was, because she didn't have, Chris was being confusing how he's explaining it. But Chris, was saying he wasn't able to see his family. They weren't talking to him. No, 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 no. So the real story from his dad, who seems, and his mom, who seemed very level-headed, and apparently it was Cece or Bella. I don't know which. I think it's Cece. But one of the girls had a nut allergy, and so it's called Nutgate. But apparently, one of their cousins apparently had a plain vanilla, like thing of ice cream, and was eating it in front of Cece, I believe it was. And I think she wanted some, so she was given some ice cream. And Shanann made a huge thing about it, saying that it had nuts in it. She could have been exposed. She could have been killed. You know, and the father, these are their grandkids. They love them very much. And from hearing them talk, they did. And like I said, they seem very level-headed, very down to earth. And his dad, Chris Watt's dad, does not have any respect for Shanann. That tells me something. And he did not talk crap. I mean, he was very, matter of fact about how she was. He tried to be as nice as he could, but also as authentic as he could. And he said she was a piece of work. He said basically when they went to North Carolina, she created this nut allergy thing, which he said didn't happen. His wife, Chris Watt's mom, obviously his father's wife, he said that she was, accused by Shanann of trying to give her giving her daughter, ice cream that had nuts in it. And the mom knows about her nut allergy. The mom knows what food she can eat. The mom says no, it was vanilla ice cream. There was no danger. Shanann created this huge, and Chris Watts and the father corroborates what he said. He was not allowed to talk to his parents. And Shanann said, you can't call him, you can't talk to him, you can't. And we're going to go to my family's house while we're here in North Carolina every day except for the last day. And so that goes back to leadership, though, guys. That goes back to leadership. You ain't going to tell me I'm going to be, unless I say I want to be away from my family, you ain't going to tell me I'll be away from my family. And what I also say, because we don't want this to happen, we don't. And Chris Watts, I believe, snaps. He didn't like, he was, because he wasn't leading, he was getting treated poorly. And if you don't lead a woman, she will act up in this manner. They will. You have to lead women. And if they start acting up, you've got one or two options. Put your boot in their butt and get them to recognize. But if they're not going to recognize, because you can't control anybody. And that's why I say, if you don't have the leverage for her to be afraid of your exit out of that marriage, then you you have to be willing to burn it all down. And, I'm out. Have a nice life. His kids would still be alive. He could still work on the custody. He could still work on, seeing his girls, instead of, allowing her to lead, wavering, being in this mess, and his father said when he got back to Colorado, he was selling the house. He was planning to get an apartment, like Nichol said. He was planning on getting bunk beds for the girls, getting a 2-bedroom. I mean, so that at first I thought he was a total liar about that, but it did seem like he was starting to, and I think that was the catalyst Sunday night. I think he said, I should have gone to the Rockies game. That's what he kept saying after the murders. And that's the night he went out with Nichol. And that's why they mentioned the Rockies. Remember, he mentioned the Rockies last night. But what he was saying was, I think Nichol talked about banging him twice that night. I think they had some amazing sex. And that kind of, cherry on top, his wife was out of town. I didn't know the facts of that in the last interview. She was in Arizona for some stupid MLM Thrive for the, stupid supplement. She ain't making any money. She probably paying for those tickets, going these stupid, all they are pep rallies for these people that they're, trying to scam and bamboozle. So it wasn't like I thought when I first saw her, she's going on these business trips. She's making cash, No, she was going on multi MLM business trips where they're trying to, and that's leading. You don't let your wife do an MLM.
11.
That's the night you guys went out?
Yeah.
I think she said it was about money. No,
The 2 lazy dogs. All right. What else?
He fell in love with her that night. Like really, he realized he was in love, and she's the one. But it would have been someone else. Although she was the right person for it.
This is important is because he, like, up to that point, seemed like he was all about it, you know, and I was respecting him. I wasn't like, oh, you need to get this, you need to get that. I was like, what city do you want to live in? What side of town is she staying in? You know, how close do you want to be to work? How close do you want to be to your kids? I mean, I asked him everything.
Yeah, but she's still running it. I mean, I see what she's saying. I asked him, but she's still running
I
it.
just wanted him to have something that was accommodating for his whole family. And he told me that she was probably going to stay in the Frederick area, but he never said for sure. The first time I asked him, he's like, I don't know where she's going to go, but she'll probably stay in this area. And I was like, Chris, if you're going to get an apartment, like, you need to figure that out, because the last thing you want is to be like an hour drive from your kids. Like, you know, you gotta be close. And so, I ended up asking him again, like a couple days later. And
See, but this is where he needs to run. See how you gotta be. Okay, I'm an hour away. I'm gonna make the call. This is why you gotta be running stuff, guys. You can't. Chris let women run him, you know, and dude, that's off-centering. You know, look at how you've gotta. They get all anxious. You know, you gotta be an hour away from what. You know, I mean, yeah.
was when,
Leadership, guys.
she's staying in the Frederick area, and I was like, okay. And that's when I was like, starting to get details, like, where, and if you guys find my text, you'll see it, where I'm asking, like, where do you wanna live? Like, how close do you wanna be to work? Those things, like, you know, do you care what gym you go to? Like, what are you looking for, you know?
See, but this is also, yeah, she's planning it out well. This is all women anxiety stuff, though. As a man, dude, we'll work it out. I mean, I'm gonna get to a gym somewhere. I mean, you know, like I'll figure it out. You know, we'll figure. Oh, you got it. This is women anxiety. This is why they're not good leaders. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you got to figure out the gym. You got to figure out where she's gonna live. If I got to drive for 1 year on a lease, if I got to drive, I'll learn. Okay, I moved too far away. It was a pain in the butt, but I endured. You know, my gym's too far away. I had to go get some weights at home, or I had to go work for, you know, whatever. We'll figure it out. We'll adapt and overcome. Do you see the anxiety level of these women? You got to find it. That's when you let a woman lead, you're going to run into all her emotional anxiety BS, leadership, rational, logical decision making, not anxiety fueled in with rational, logical thinking.
The thing was he was like super gung ho about it, and then on Saturday, that day, I remember being outside with him when this conversation happened, but I don't know where. I don't know if we were like walking into the restaurant or walking to the car, but I like vaguely remember being outside with him. And I was like, he had told me that he wanted to go look at some places the upcoming week. And we were supposed to go do that on Wednesday. And I was like, I asked him, I was like, what places do you want to go see?
They were supposed to go look at apartments on Wednesday, right? And he really, I do think he really wants to look at apartments, because this is prior to, yeah, I think this is prior to him confessing it, whatever. But, she wants to go Wednesday, and why does she want to go Wednesday? Because her buddy Jim from out of town is with her from Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. You know, that's a little factor though. Why you're pushing Chris off until Wednesday? You know, if Jim was just a friend, you can move. Anyway, I'm just saying.
At that place that I showed you, because it was just like super convenient for everything, and it had a little playground, and it had a pool. Like, it would have been awesome for his kids, and it was cheap. And so, and it was like close to Frederick, it was close to the gym, it was close to work, it was close to me, it was close to everything. And it was in Brighton, which is what he wanted. And so, I was like, did you want to go check that place out? And he's like, yeah, I guess. And he like didn't seem sure anymore. And that was the part that I wanted to tell you. I just figured I'd give you all the backstory.
Sure. So he's not sure about the particular apartment or about even leaving?
So he told me that he looked at it and he told me that he thought it was nice, but it didn't really seem like his interest was that piqued. And I was like, well, did you find anything that you really wanted to look at? And he told me, yeah, that he found a few, but nothing that really, really piqued his interest. And I was like, we might want to get started. And he's like, well, I found one, and I asked him, I said, which one is it? Because I think I've looked at like every apartment in Brighton.
He's lying.
Remember it. And he, like, I don't know, I don't remember.
Yeah.
He kind of just, like, disregarded it. And it was kind of strange to me because, like, the whole week prior, he was, like, so excited that I was trying to help him because he's busy, I'm busy. So I was like, you look, I'll look, let's see if we can try to narrow it down to like 4 or 5 spots, and then we'll find something that's good for you and your girls. You know, and he seemed like very enthusiastic about it, like during the week when the conversations first really started ramping up about like, you probably gotta figure something out because that house is gonna sell really fast, you know, or at least be prepared. And
So why do you think he was removed or not interested on your Saturday night, wherever you guys were?
I don't know, I mean, sometimes like.
Well, I think in that, so she's talking about a Saturday night. Now his wife is out of town. Now she, again, the Shanann was start. She said he was being. She knew. No, she wasn't dumb or whatever. The last 5 weeks while they're dating, they said for 5 weeks she had told Chris. It's this. I think, and this is what's the catalyst of the whole thing. She comes back from Arizona. She said she didn't feel good. I think she was having anxiety. She knew when he got a babysitter that night. See, this is what's. I'm sure he probably didn't get too many babysitters. He knew that he might be busted. She knew Shanann knew something was up. For the last 5 weeks, she was even telling him and telling her friends, I don't know what the problem is. Something's up with him. The women know, whatever. She knew. I think he kind of knew she knew. So this was all coming to a head. So he's starting to, he's just in the oh crap mode. And she actually comes back, I think at 2 a.m, I think, on Saturday night. And they bang on Sunday. Shanann and Chris, because she was trying to win him back. What's women's strong? We're learning the moment. What's women's most powerful agency? What do they do when they want you? They bang you. His wife was 15 weeks pregnant, and she's banging the hell out of him because she wants to win him over from this girl. But the damage was already done, through her behavior. He'd already fallen in love with this one.
I feel like they're all assumptions, but at that point, like, maybe he already knew something that I didn't. I don't know.
Well, he did know something you didn't. Yeah, of course he did. He knew, things with his wife, and all coming to a head. And I think he actually did have a talk with her on Sunday. That's what did it. I think he finally got his balls up and said, "Let's get separated." But he was the bitch to Shanann. He was. As she even says in one of the social media things, is she's on her little live and she's like, and we're gonna have to do some dishes for dinner, and he's gonna do them. He was her little dancing monkey. I mean, I almost feel bad for the guy. I mean, after what he did, I understand. Like, people are like, oh, but dude, any man has been like, yeah. Anyway, he was getting abused.
But it was just a complete mood change where he just didn't even seem that interested, and I was like, okay, and I was like, well, we don't have to do that on Wednesday if you don't want to. He's like, no, I don't need to get it done.
Well, he's splitting up his whole family. So, I mean, yeah, he's going to, I mean, I know this is where a woman might have a hard time empathizing with the guy, but, yeah, the poor guy is moving away from his whole family. Like, even if it was, even if he was kind of most positive as he can, there's still, he's going to have to split from his girls. Dude, it's not a happy moment. Anyway, there's a lot of stress behind that. I'm just saying, a lot to think about. So, and you have a lot less to think about, Nicole, on that. I'm just saying.
And I was like, all right. Because I'm not gonna like force him to do it. If he doesn't want to do it, don't do it. Just say no, And I was like, and for me, I was like, I was just off.
No, but what you don't realize, Nicole, is he's fallen in love with your vagina and your moves and your BJs, and she probably has fake boobs. But I'm just noticing that. But anyway, she got a great figure. But and he fell in love with that. So he is pressured. He is, his mind is, he's stuck on. Yeah, no, he has to, because he's fallen in love with you, and he doesn't want to be with his wife anymore. So, and yeah, Nicole's not responsible for that, but she is responsible for this man falling in love.
Because like, I know what a tedious task it is trying to find a new place to live.
Right. What else? Any other new info?
That part where he was just like really unplugged on Saturday, and then there was something else that went with that. Let me just think for a minute. It was, I didn't realize
Yeah, you remember so much stuff already.
Slowly comes to me all the time. Well, some of this stuff is just things that you would never think about, and now that I'm like, hindsight's 20/20, I'm like starting.
Clarity.
To back, so
And yes, hindsight and feelings. The emotions are, yeah, it's easier to be objective now, and you have more information. So yeah, my dad would always say you can't make a correct decision because you don't have enough information.
all of it.
Think about it for a minute. I'm gonna see if my tech guy has his
Do that.
equipment
Do
charged.
that.
We'll get your phone taken care of.
Okay.
So again, I'm gonna have you sign this voluntary consent. It's the same thing that you signed in Thornton saying that, you know, I didn't threaten you, intimidate you, you have a right to say no. I want you to read the document again. We're gonna take your phone, we're gonna use a program called Celebrate. If you go to your
Celebrate.
store, that's what they use. Sometimes they used to do this, they used to move your stuff back and forth. It's the same thing. You're gonna take that information and then an examiner who is skilled in looking at cell phone data is gonna look at it to try to recover the deleted material that we're after.
I hope
So,
they can
The
get
deleted
it.
material is what I'm at.
I know it is. I feel so bad that I did that. I didn't even honestly, like, that's not even what I was thinking about. I was just so, did not want, like, any presence from him.
So you're okay with us doing
Just
everything?
take the whole phone,
Awesome.
just take it, because I feel like we've been
I'm
trying to
gonna
do
put
this, like,
all data on here,
Yeah.
just for ease,
take
okay?
what you need.
So read that and make sure.
She's
that
fine.
that you're-
After a while, you just gotta say, just look at me naked, dude. It's fine.
Once I have all that stuff, I'll get your phone back to you.
That's
Okay?
okay. I mean, I'm not even using it anymore, but it's just this.
Okay, I'm gonna still get it back to you as soon as we're done,
Okay.
alright? So
That was smart to get a new phone.
take some time maybe,
Okay,
or the week after or something, somewhere in that time frame. Okay?
okay.
Alright, relax for a minute, I'll be back in a sec.
All right, well, he's stepping out. We'll go ahead and cut it on this one, and then we'll start part two after this.